Eyes up, Guardians! I don't know what the right delivery on that is. See, I asked Ari David, also known as the amazing Ari, what I should open this episode with, and he said definitely that, so I hope it worked. Today, I'm looking at the drinks in Destiny, the hugely popular first-person MMO from Bungie, and for your information, no, they didn't sponsor this. I just kind of felt like doing it, okay? Get this one for free, Bungie. For free. Alright, so, Destiny. Destiny's got these immortal space wizards that use the power of light. No, not like that. Battling to protect the last city on Earth from the forces of eternal darkness. Not like that. Kind of a dualistic Zoroastrian thing going slightly there, right? Yeah. So you play as a human, but like a dead/immortal one, or an exo, which is an ancient humanoid self-aware thinking robot, or one of the Awoken, which is a group of, well, I'm not sure if they're aliens. I mean, they're descended from humans. They're human cousins. They left Earth a long time ago, like centuries. But like, I mean, how long can you stay away from Earth? And I personally, I would say that they're a different species by this point. But I think that would offend them, so we'll leave it alone. The long-lost cousins, I guess. Anyway, and you get busy, live, die, repeating.
I think we better start over.
Oh, come on!
No, not that way. Your way through a pretty grim, pitched battle for the continued existence of everything. Okay, if you need more background on the Destiny lore than I'm giving you here, this is the wrong show for you, because I'm here to make drinks from the game, and yes, there's a few drinks in it, or at the very least, drink-adjacent things that I can take inspiration from. But if you need that extra dose of lore, you probably want to check out My Name is Biff, because that's where I went. Thanks, Biff. Your name. By the way, I should let you know that if you are looking to pick up any of the bottles I'm using in this episode to try these at home, or if you just want to expand your home bar, you should check out Curaçao using the link in the pinned comment below. They will have everything I'm using here, and they ship to most of the US states, and we are expanding that all the time. So if getting access to Italicus is tricky for you, or Maraschino, or Ricard, or any of the things I use on the show, check out Curaçao. Drink.curaçao.com, or use the link in the pinned comment below. Okay, moving along. So when I started putting this episode together, I wasn't really sure what order to put the drinks in, but a lot of you seem to enjoy seeing me torture myself. So as a treat, I'm putting Vex Milk first. A treat for you, not for me. Some of you know what both a Vex and their milk is already, but in the interest of everyone else, I will now endeavor to explain the Vex and their Vex Milk. Vex Milk is a colloquialism used by the characters in the Destiny universe to describe the radiolara fluid that contains the cognitive essence of the Vex, which are a collective consciousness of robots that are as old as the universe itself and live outside reality as paracausal entities. So you see, their bodies are these inert robotic frames that can't really do anything on their own until they're all filled up with the Vex Milk, which contains the collective consciousness of the Vex. Mechanically, the fluid contains a suspension of silicoid structures 100 to 200 micrometers in size. It's called radiolara fluid because the in-game human scientists who first identified it thought the little cells in it looked a lot like radiolara protozoa, which are an actual real-world things here on Earth. Why would you drink this? You would not. Because the Vex kind of, well, they consume and assimilate whatever they touch over time, so drinking Vex Milk would turn you into a Vex. It's a touch like Captain Picard becoming Locutus of Borg. In-game, touching Vex Milk will hurt your character. In life, drinking Vex Milk will probably hurt me, because the in-world description of this stuff is that it is an alkaline solution of dense salts in water, and that does not sound great tasting, nor is it supposed to be great tasting. So, this is about to be a cursed cocktail. It's got this luminescent whitish look to it, and that plus unpleasant was really the recipe touchstone for this one. The louche effect of absinthe, Ricard, or Ouzo struck me as having the right look, and probably not as a bad place to start on taste, to be honest. In my experiments, and yes, I had to develop and taste this already, sadly, I found that Ricard was the best, and I use that term loosely here, in my mixing glass. In my mixing glass. I'm going to combine 1 ounce of Ricard, and this is it's a French pastis. Delicious. Careful now, boy. 1 ounce of Bailys Irish cream for that milky goodness. Who doesn't love a, well, actually, you know what? A Pernod cream, or like an absinthe cream on mussels is actually, it's like a nice way to do them. I like mussels. They're good. And 4 dashes of this saline solution, which is made by combining 20 grams of salt to 80 grams of water. So it's pretty darn salty stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh joy. I'm going to put some ice in here because it is a small mercy that I do get to dilute it some. Stir that up. Bar spoon's kind of fighting me. I don't love this one. This is not my favorite bar spoon. This is the wrong length of a bar spoon. We're in trouble. My hand is getting tired because of it. I'm going to put it in this glass. There it is. A glass of Radiolaura fluid, otherwise known as Vex Milk, so prepare to be assimilated, I suppose. Ooh, that's a fun aftertaste. So what does this taste like? Believe it or not, it's not as nightmarish as you would expect. Or as I was preparing for. It kind of tastes like chocolate with like an absinthe or with a licorice kick to it. And a lengthy, salty outro. You know, I'm starting to actually like it, which is crazy. Uh-oh. That might be me becoming a Vex. No, it's really not that terrible. You have to like some of these flavors that are at play here. The licorice, it's like a chocolatey licorice salted caramel kind of thing. Maybe it's a bit too salty, but it's definitely, like, it's not great. It is a jarring flavor. Jarring is definitely what it is, because you're like, oh shit. What the hell am I drinking? But once you kind of get over that initial thing, it's not that bad. And then the salty finish, which does enhance some of the chocolatiness of the flavors, some of the carameliness of the flavors, really lingers. All of that to me feels like a pretty faithful answer to the Vex Milk question without, you know what, I'm not even gonna say it. I'm just not gonna say that. I'm just not gonna say that. I don't want that. I don't want to record that for someone to use. Without, yeah. Anyway, not great. I am gonna say appropriate to Vex Milk. I think, personally, I think I did it. I created Vex Milk. I'm a Vex. Fuck. Okay, so thankfully that is over, and I can move it right along here. I mentioned the Awoken before, and so let's head back to them. Now, the Awoken are a matriarchal society led by the Queen Maraschino, who, frankly, I just find her a bit suspicious, but maybe that's me, I don't know.
They will feel my wrath.
And they have this secret city that's outside of time, and they call it the Dreaming City. It's a broken, cursed place where time just repeats the same 3 weeks on a loop forever, which coincidentally makes for pretty good gameplay, it turns out. It's a funny coincidence there. As a guardian, you gotta go there and help out the Awokens or something. And to do that, you're gonna need access to the Ascendant Realms, which are pocket dimensions powered by pure darkness. And to get there, well, you're just gonna need to see yourself some little tears in reality. And to do that, you will probably definitely need to drink up some magic space drugs, okay? I didn't make the rules here, Bungie did. And the stuff I'm talking about is Tincture of Queensfoil. Now, in the game, this thing only exists as a little icon in your inventory, so far as I know. Anyway, I've pulled some screen grabs, and I looked real close, okay? What we've got here... Now, what we've got here... It was a failure to communicate. Now, what we've got here is a semi-luminescent teal blue liquid with tendrils of darkness sort of suspended and coursing through it, trying to escape the vial. I'm not gonna lie, that is not easy to achieve in a cocktail. I worked on this one quite a bit to find something that would both look correct and be something you would actually want to drink. And I feel pretty good about what I've come up with, but there is a trick to this whole thing, and you'll need a pretty specialized ingredient. See, I can get something dark that would float on the drink, and I can get something dark that'll sink right through a drink and sit on the bottom. But to hang out in the middle, like tendrils, and stay there while you have this drink in your hand and you're moving around, maybe at a party or whatever, that's hard. After working on this for a while, I'd found a combination of flavors that I mostly liked, but I couldn't quite get the look right. And then I started playing with just straight up manipulating the viscosity. I had some Xanthan gum from Modernist Pantry, and I'm gonna put a link to this below. And I tinkered with this a bit, and I arrived at a sort of non-standard use for it. See, Modernist Pantry has a pretty good formula they figured out for using this in a recipe, like for instance hot dog relish or something. But I wanted to work with it another way, because I didn't want to make one cocktail with it, right? I needed to make something I could add to drinks. Instead, I doubled their recommended ratio and I mixed it with water to create a pourable thickener. And I can add this to any drink. This stuff in the bottle is, it's basically flavorless, although it's not quite colorless. That's really just kind of suspended air in there, I think, by the way. And actually, it's funny, when you shake it, you can see the air bubbles just stay where they landed. You can dilute this into a cocktail and derive at a drink that would be subtly more viscous than you'd have otherwise, which lets you do pretty neat things. So Modernist Pantry recommends using half a gram of xanthan gum to a liter of fluid at most. I used a full gram to a liter. I doubled the ratio. This is also my first real go around with this, so maybe you all have better ratios or advice for using this stuff. And also, since I know you're going to ask, why am I not just using a gum syrup and take like gum acacia and some simple syrup? Well, for one, that ties our thickeningness to sweetness. And two, gum syrup isn't really that thick, right? It's not. So what would I do here? I would have to make a special version of gum syrup just for this drink that's like super over thickened. I didn't want to make an ingredient just for this drink. This is a thickener that you can add to other drinks. I think it just makes more sense to make a universal thickening agent like that can be added to any drink in small quantities that is divorced from sweetness, right? You want this drink to be a little thicker, a little bit more viscous, you can just do that. I'll be using this a lot probably on the show. Well, maybe I won't want to overuse it, but boy, does it solve a lot of visual problems for me. So in my mixing glass, I'm going to do a half an ounce of simple, a half an ounce of my thickener, and you can see it pours easily. It's not like glue, right? A quarter ounce of blue Curaçao, and honestly, you might even be able to get away with a little bit even less than that, but we'll do a quarter. Half an ounce of Italicus, which is a bergamot liqueur. Bergamot, that's the primary ingredient, the flavoring agent in a Earl Grey tea. So this is going to have that kind of a vibe. Earl Grey tea felt very appropriate for something called Queensfoil. Tincture of Queensfoil. I like that stuff. It's available on Criada. Half an ounce of citron vodka, mainly because I wanted to get some lemony flavors in here, and I don't want to use lemon juice. And an ounce and a half of a dry gin. Also felt pretty appropriate for something called Tincture of Queensfoil. Okay, crack some ice in there. Ooh. That's really the perfect glass for this. A tall highball glass. Strain that straight in, no ice. I should probably say that what I had in here is doubled, right? Like that's a huge amount for this drink. Now that we got this in a glass, all we need to do is add our streaks of darkness. And I found Angostura bitters work the best here. Partially, yes, it's because they taste great in this drink, but also it's because they have a lot of pigment. I tried a few different dark rums and stuff like that, black rums. Nothing comes even close to this. They just kind of, everything diffuses and disappears. The trick though is to dash it down hard, because where it stops moving is pretty much where it's gonna stay. So I'm gonna put a few dashes in here and hopefully this looks awesome. Ready? And there we have, well, that one actually rose up a little bit, but it does have some streaks going down there. There we have our Tincture of Queensfoil. Honestly, I think that's cool and unique enough looking that it really doesn't need a garnish. But you can see it definitely has streaks that reach all the way to the bottom. You can go more aggressive on that. You're gonna get different results every time you do this, to be perfectly honest, slightly, because there's a little bit of randomness and chaos in this, so I don't think it needs a garnish. But now let's see if it'll help me find my way into the Ascendant Realms. It doesn't. I find that pretty pleasant. It does not feel, like it does have a silky texture to it, but it does not have like a very heavy, thick, jello-y texture to it at all. I find it very, very drinkable. It is bright and lemony. Oh, that bergamot, I love that. I just love the taste of that bergamot, that Earl Grey flavor. The gin is not a major part of the flavor profile, to be perfectly honest. It is part of the orchestra. That juniper, the herbalness to it, the little astringency that comes along with that, all of that sort of helps back it up. Would this be better with fresh lemon juice instead of the lemon vodka? But then we'd have to deal with lemon pulp being in there and stuff like that, and it would really ruin the look of the drink. But I think it's great as it is. And I think it tastes, it's like I said, it's an approachable, easy to drink. Your streaks will last. I mean, they're kind of fading now a little bit, but they're still in there. And you can always really kind of go crazy with it if you want. They won't mix on their own, right? They will remain separated. quite sophisticated and regal tasting. And of course, the Angostura bitters is bringing a lot of cinnamon and like maybe sassafrasy even on this mix, the way that what's expressing out of there, like root beery kind of flavors. I find that really enjoyable. It's cool, and I think it looks the fire, which is what I was going for. Next drink. Let's move it along. All right, we're back. Let's talk about the Fallen. Now, the Fallen are some bad guys in the game who used to be the best bros with the Traveler, and the Traveler ditched them when the darkness showed up, okay, and they're feeling hurt about it. So they showed up in the Sol system, and they're mucking around, and they're going to
wreck up the place.
Okay, that's my opinion on the whole situation. Also, they're utterly dependent on this stuff called ether to survive.
Devil ether.
Not that kind of ether. And they have these giant eyeball robot servitors that make it for them. These dudes love robots. Love them. Also, it's not their fault, but because I think they have trouble breathing or something, the sounds of their voices, their raspy, wheezing breathing, makes my skin crawl. And it triggers my misophonia hard, I guess, because I'm a terrible person. So, the Fallen, or Elixni, if you prefer, they absolutely need ether to survive, and the more of it they have, the bigger and harder they survive. But for us humans and other folk, their ether is just kind of a real good time in a glass, if you know what I mean, eh? So much so that there's a Fallen nightclub called the Empty Tank, where I'm pretty sure they serve ether. I don't think you get to see what the ether looks like in there when it's being served, but when you shoot these guys, they kind of explode in a cloud of the stuff, which is what I'm actually going off of for the recipe. So it's a sort of pale, nearly white, but slightly violetish, poofy, wispy gas cloud. Got it, okay. We can do that, sort of. I won't lie, I did start this drink using a Ramos Gin Fizz template here, right? And I just kind of kept tinkering with it and bending it until it was both what I thought the ether should look and taste like, and also something I don't think I've quite seen before, technique or appearance-wise. So this is gonna be a shake and drink. So in your tin, get yourself an ounce of lemon juice, for starters, and I have a lemon right here. And I got a knife, and I use my knife and to cut my lemon, and I got my jigger, and I juice my lemon, and I am losing my mind. That's 1 ounce of lemon juice. Just like that, just so. 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. Here goes the 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. It's this one. This one's very sticky. We need some Creme de Violette. How much do we need? It's a tough question. I'm gonna go with a 1/4 ounce. I think maybe a little bit more than 1/4 of an ounce, but it's a potent flavor and you can easily overdo it. So I'm gonna go somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 ounce. Some of you said something like, oh, that's 1/3 of an ounce. That's 1/3. It's not. It's a different number. That's okay. Creme de Violette and 1/2 ounce of Maraschino liqueur. And 2 ounces of London dry gin, for which I am using Aviation. Now we need an egg white. Now we shake this with ice. Ah, but Greg, you say, why aren't you dry shaking first? Well, I will get to that if you let me. Now, take your strainer, strain the drink back from one tin to the other. Pull the coil off your strainer, throw it into your tin. Once again, using Modernist Pantry, we're gonna use a little of their foam magic. This is maltodextrin, methylcellulose, and xanthan gum mixed together. I've used this on the show before, like when I did the Black Yukon Sucker Punch. There'll be a link below. But I haven't used it in a shaker like this. I always use it with like a nitro thing. A tiny amount goes a super long way. So like that amount on your bar spoon, put that in there, okay? Just a tiny amount. Tiny amount goes a long way, like 1/4 of a bar spoon. And now, with our spring in there, we will do this reverse dry shake and shake like crazy. Strain that into a science fiction looking glass. Top that up with a little club soda. I think that's a perfect representation of a cloud of ether in a glass. Ooh, I really like that. I love what the Creme de Violette is doing there. It brings this floral, flowery, I mean, the texture of the drink too, you're almost inhaling it more than drinking it because the whole thing is froth, right? Like all the way to the bottom. It is tart and floral and light, effort floaty. It's like a breath of air. The whole texture of it is a very big part of the experience because it does have the, like you're drinking a lot of air with it. There's a lot of bubbles. It's a very experiential cocktail. When I sip this and I imagine the footage from the game of the dudes exploding, this tastes right, you know? This purplish, lemony, tart, somewhat, I mean, drinkable, very drinkable, not overly sweet, but drinkable. Gin, floral, explosion. I wouldn't lie, it's good. That's good. I think that's quite enjoyable. There it is. It looks like a big, white, billowy, puffy cloud in there. I love that. Just perfect foam. Very good. So I want to say I started out with this being like based off of a Ramos Gin Fizz. The Ramos Gin Fizz has heavy cream in it, and it does this thing when you add seltzer to it where it builds a crazy, thick, dense head that can extend way past the top of the drink. This won't do that because it doesn't have heavy cream and it's made differently, right? But I didn't want it to do that. I didn't want it to do that because I wanted this to be airy. I wanted it to be more vaporous. Honestly, if I could, I would have gotten like, what is that? Like an ultrasonic transducer and literally made it into vapors so that you would inhale it instead of drinking it. Don't do that, that's unsafe. So that wasn't what I was going for, and that's why I went with the Shook Foam Magic versus heavy cream, so that it wouldn't be thick and heavy. I wanted it to break apart and be airy and have big bubbles in it and just sort of like float. I wanted it to be a lot of air. There we have it, ether, as they might serve at the Fallen Tank. Well, Guardians, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Honestly, I haven't played Destiny. I did a lot of research on Destiny, and I had a lot of help doing a lot of research on Destiny. Ari David, the amazing Ari, gave me a big lift on this one. I'm gonna have a link down there to his Twitch. He streams Destiny at least once a week, and he's also, of course, plays Cyberpunk Red with us on Greg from HTD, which is my Twitch on Tuesday nights, currently at 7 p.m. Eastern, although, you know, it's always subject to change, but currently 7 p.m. Eastern is when we play Cyberpunk Red. He plays Mr. Friend, the Netrunner. That's the show, guys. I'll be back real soon with another episode of How to Drink. You know where to find me on socials, and nobody watches this part of the episode anyway, so I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching. I've been making this show for 5 years. I say this in every episode, which is kind of starting to make me feel old. And so maybe if you didn't like this one, well, if you didn't like this one, you're not still watching, right? If you like this one, maybe you should check out another episode of HTD, show that is sometimes about making cocktails and how to drink them. We'll see you guys very soon with another episode. Goodbye now. Y'all come back.